I will introduce the upper extremity muscles and lower extremity muscles. Firstly, the upper line muscles include the shoulder girdle muscle, upper arm muscle, forearm muscle, and hand muscle. The shoulder girdle muscle starts from the clavicle and scapula and end of the humerus. It includes deltoid, supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, subscapularis, and teres major. The tendons of the supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, and subscapularis muscle together form a schedule called the tendon cuff, which has the function of stressing and protecting the shield joint. The upper arm muscles are worked around the humerus and are divided into two groups, anterior and posterior. The anterior group includes the biceps, humerus, and brachialis. The posterior group includes the triceps, brachii, and elbow muscles. The forearm muscles are more differentiated, mostly long muscles with long tendons, and are divided into two groups, anterior and posterior, each of which is divided into two shallow and deep layers. The anterior groups of muscle is located in the front and middle side of the forearm, and the posterior group of muscle is located in the back and the lateral side of the forearm. The superficial layer of the anterior group of muscles mainly includes the brachialis, pronator teres, radial waist flexor, and ulnar universe flexor. The superficial layers of the posterior group of muscles mainly include the radial carpal long extensors, radial carpal short extensors, and ulnar carpal extensors. The following is the introduction of the biceps brachii. The biceps is one of the most superficial muscles of the arm, consisting of a long head and a short head, with a long muscle belly that acts on both shoulder and forearm. Bodybuilders often contact the biceps when displaying the muscles because it will have a pronounced bulge. The long head of the attachment point of the biceps is in the scapular general tuberosity. The long head of the biceps tendon passes through the interstitial groove of the humerus, which serves to stabilize the tendon when the shoulder joint is flexed so that the elbow joint extends the shoulder. The short head of the biceps attachment point is located at the rostral process of the scapula. The relative attachment points of the long and short heads of the biceps helps to stabilize the shoulder joint when completing a flexing movement of the elbow. The biceps tendon membrane is a thin fascia covering the surface of the forearm flexor muscle, and it falls with femoral fascia, which has the function of stabilizing the ulnar and supporting the forearm flexor muscle when the forearm is flexed and rotated back. The most important role of the biceps is to flex the elbow joint, which pushes radialis and most of the femoral carpi radius. The bulging muscle belly of the biceps is what fascinates many people, and the flexion of the elbow joint is extremely easy to accomplish, and popularity of the biceps curl attention is high. The triceps brachii is the extensor muscles of a posterior group of the upper arm. There are three heads of the beginning. The long head starts from the inferior genital ridge of scapula. The later and middle muscle starts from the back of the humerus downward, and three heads are continued in the tendon ending at the ulnar hux back. The function of this muscle is to extend the forearm and assist in the internal retraction of the upper arm. It is innervated by the radial nerve muscle of the dorsal accep of the arm. Covers the entire back of the humerus. It composed of the long head, lateral head, and medial head. Its role to extend the elbow. The severe type of trapezius tendon injury is trapezius tendon rupture, which is seen in sports such as gym and theater. Most of the time, the trapezius is turned by violent contraction when the elbow falls with head propped up in the semi-flexed position. This rupture is mostly caused by indirect violence, and it is often caused by direct impact of the elbow on the ground. The tendon is more often returned superficially with the third and often occurring at the junction between the tendon and the bone, and no distal strand remains because the illusion at the hux mouth can have small bone fragments. It is also called trapezius tendon absent fracture. There are 9 muscle groups divided into 3 layers. The first is the superficial layer, is from the radial side to the ulnar side, in order for the radialis. Later underarm muscle, radial carpus flexor, prominus longus, and ulnar carpal flexor. The middle layer is only the superficial flexors of the fingers. The deep layer is the long-term flexor on the radial side. The deep finger flexor on the ulnar side, and the deep distal surface of both muscles is the anterior rotator muscle. The anterior retorts are the 2 heads of the originate from the middle aspectus of the humerus and the cognate process of the ulna. The median never passes between them, and the ulnar artery passes on the deep side of the ulnar head. The fibers of the muscles run diagonally outward and end out of the outside and behind the middle third of the radius, where the posterior muscle attaches proximally and anterior muscle attaches distally. When the radius is fractured, the fracture line is above or below the stop of the pronator muscle. The result of the dislocation is different. The primary longus, the muscle belly is very short, and the tendon is elongated, which affects the roots and tensors. The palmar tendon membrane, the tendon can be used cancer and tendon graft. The percentage of type I fibers is highest in the later group, second in the middle group, and lower in the middle group. The palmar pair is an important manifestation of hand function, as most of the daily hand movements require proximity of fingers. The thumb flexors, and thumb reactors flex and retract the proximal prehemis so that the central part of the thumb is opposite to the polar surface of the other fingers. This shows that the infemoral muscle is the dominant player in the complex joint movement of the palm. So the larger increase in the labor group fibers is the result of the need to adapt the head to various precise skill movements, followed by the lower limb muscles, including the pelvic gyral muscle, sixth muscle, calf muscle, and foot muscle. The pelvic muscles are divided into two groups, anterior and posterior. The front group starts from the inner surface of the pelvis, and the back group starts from the outside of the pelvis. The anterior group has the ellipsoid muscle and pear-shaped muscle. The posterior group has the genitus maximus, genitus medius, and genitus minimus. The pelvic genital muscle is the area where the trunk and legs are connected and is the center of the body movement. The lower limb band muscle starts from the inner or outer surface of the pelvis, span the hip joint and end of the femur. The same muscles are located around femur in a total of 10 blocks, which can be divided into anterior, posterior, and medial groups. 3 groups of tendons spread the medial, lateral, and posterior muscles are intervals, and there are 2 in the anterior group, the stretchers and quadriceps. The medial group has 5 pieces located on the medial side of things, including the thin femoral muscle, long return muscle, short return muscle, and long rhetorical muscle. There are 3 posterior groups located at the back of the thing, including the biceps femoris and the semibrosus. The main role of the stretching muscle is to flex the hip and knee joints and to rotate the flexed knee joint inward. The role of the quadriceps is to flex the hip joint and extend the knee joint. The role of the anterior groups of muscles is to internally and externally rotate the hip joint. The posterior femoral group of muscles acts to extend the hip joint, flex the knee joint, and rotate outward. Muscles act to extend the hip joint, flex the knee joint, and rotate inward. The superficial layer of the calf muscle has gastrocnemius and the hallux valgus muscle together called the calf traps. The gastrocnemius muscle starts from the middle and lateral ends of the femur and expanded respectively, and the deeper frontal muscle starts from the back of the upper tibia and fibula, and 2 muscles move about the middle of the calf to act as the thin Achilles tendon, ending at the heel tuberosity. The trapped calf muscle can plantar flex the ankle joint, flex the lower leg, and lift the hip. When standing, it holds the ankle and knee joints in place to prevent the body from leaning forward. The deeper layers of the calf muscles from the tibia side to the personal side are the long toe flexors, the posterior tibia muscle, and the lumbar flexors in the other. The three muscles start from the back of the tibia and fibula, and the interosseous membrane and the tendon goes through the back of the inner ankle to the sole of the foot. Among them, the posterior tibia muscle stops at the navicular bone and three cuneiform bones, which can transfix the ankle joint and make the foot turn inward. The long toe flexor muscle stops at the base of the distal phalanges of the second and fifth toe, and the long mother flexor muscle stops at the base of the distal phalanges of the mother toe, which flex the corresponding toes and make the foot transfix. The foot muscle is divided into the dorsalis, pallis muscles, and the plantar pes muscle. The dorsalis pes muscle consists of two muscles, namely the toe extensor and bone extensor. The toe extensor is located under the skin of the dorsum of the foot, the deep side of the long toe extensor tendon, and is a weak flex muscle from the front of the heel bone above and lateral surface, ending at the base of the second and fourth toe. This muscle can extend the second to fourth toe when contracted. The pinion extensor muscle is located on the middle side of the toe extensor muscle, starting from the upper and lateral side of the anterior end of the heel bone and ending the base of the proximal phalanx and the trunk, and its role to extend the bone. The dorsalis pes muscle is innervated by the deep personal nerve. The plantar muscles are divided into middle group, lateral group, and intermediate group muscles. The middle group of muscles include the bone extensor, bone flexor, and bone reactor. The lateral group's muscles include the little toe extensors and little toe deroflexors. The intermediate group of muscles include the short toe flexors, metatarsal square muscles, earthworm muscles, interosseous muscles, and palmar muscles. The muscles of the foot are named according to their functions. Explain the palmar muscles is effective in improving punching power. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.